All right, give another hand to Soap Frog. Up next, our final show of the evening will be the Reservoir Frogs.
Hello, we are the Reservoir Frogs, and we are about to present you a tale of high ambition, low morals, mayhem, late taxes, early taxes, and utter despair. This story is going to exist at Old Faithful with orphans and a disposable camera.
I'm Francine Baker. I am in possession of the last disposable camera on Earth. I need to take the greatest picture mankind has ever taken, because it's gonna be the last.
I'm a little orphan girl who lives in the sand. Let me introduce myself. My name is Biscuit Miss Crumb, and I washed up here on the streets of Yellowstone, the sandy streets. And I don't know what I'm doing, but I think it will be better than whatever I had going on in England.
Hi, I'm Arnold. I'm a moosh. As you can see, I've got a great big set of antlers, and well, it's real good because all the orphan kids ride in my antlers, and I take care of them out here in Old Faithful, and we play in the sand sometimes, and yeah, I mean, it's a great life, but I've got to figure out how to let them go and live with people, because I feel like they're getting too acclimated. They're attaching themselves too much to me, like their mother, and I've just got to let them go.
Francine Baker, do you have any idea the responsibility of having the last disposable camera on Earth?
Biscuit Miss Crumb, and I'm here to find my purpose.
I'm Arnold. As I told you once before, I'm a moosh. And I've got to figure out a way to kick the orphans out of my home.
This has been an unbelievable adventure. I woke up on the sandy streets, and then I passed behind a waterfall. And behind that waterfall, and I've become American, slowly, in Yellowstone, and I passed behind a waterfall, and it was an amazing land befell my eyes. There was mystical creatures running wild, and then other children that were on the backs of big, tall animals. It was amazing. I had never seen it. All I had seen before was the grimy streets of London, where I swept chimneys and held my hand up for favors.
Well, how it came into my possessions, irrelevant. It was a family heirloom, you know? After Elon Musk outlawed all film cameras in 2026, then most of them were destroyed. Yeah, I found it years ago, just hidden away in an old trunk, you know? Maybe my mom left it, maybe grandma, I don't know. Kodak.
Well, it's a little known fact that moosh are the caretakers of the forest, and so especially of little children whose parents pet buffalo. And it's It's just one of those things where, you know, it came upon me, and I am taking care of the children, and, you know, and we needed to find a sacred grove that was only accessible through a mythical portal behind a waterfall, and just so happens that Yellowstone is a perfect place.
If you would like to protest UNICEF's waterfall portal to send global orphans to Yellowstone, you can sign this survey. But keep in mind all the other wonderful things UNICEF does for us.
I mean, it's really the only thing I have left of my family, presumably. I'm an orphan, like everyone else in Yellowstone. Fucking waterfall portal, you know what I mean? It just seems like the weight of history, you know? Like, they used to just take pictures of things on film that couldn't be altered by AI. It seems absurd, I know, right? You just click, and that thing is immortalized forever. There's only 3 shots left on the camera.
It's funny. There is a rumor that all of the waterfall orphans eventually evolve into moose nannies. But no one has ever found proof. But there are so many moose nannies. And no more orphans after the age of 15.
I love being 14 and a half years old. It's really a great age. I mean, I, of course, had to care for myself since I was 2-3 months old, but I think it's taught me grit, resiliency, and to not ask too many questions.
Yes, I see park rangers and sometimes FBI agents passing on the other side of the portal quite frequently. I overhear some of their conversations even. They you know, they're looking for children. I mean, not any of the children that I've brought under my, or onto my horns. But they're looking for children, and I did hear one name. I think it was Miriam, I'm not sure. Could have been Francis, I don't know. I get words mixed up. I don't really speak a language. Yes, I know I'm speaking to you right now, and I think I'm more telepathically putting the words into your head than actually speaking them.
Oh, that old rumor. No, we don't all end up turning into moose. It's a pretty common misconception. Most of the other orphans that Arnold helped raise, yeah, no, they're moose wandering around. Gotta have new moose somewhere. They're sure not making them the old-fashioned way.
Little known fact, there's no such thing as male or female moosh. There's just moosh. And we have to procreate somehow, so we take the orphans under our wing and slowly turn them into moosh.
No. Some of us go on to become park rangers / FBI agents. That's, you know, just the way that the National Park Service ended up getting funded in 2028.
In fact, the vast majority of children who do not choose the moose pack sell vintage tchotchkes that have been remade and branded under Urban Outfitters logo.
It's been good in the Grove. There's a lot of other kids here, and the one weird thing though is that I had to take a standardized test to tell me what my future's gonna be. And the only 3 outcomes were become a moose, become a park ranger, and become a snake oil salesman. And I thought that was kind of, there's this thing called tracking where you put children on a track and then that really actually stunts their growth and they can't really become themselves. But no one really was listening because our teacher is a moosh.
Oh yes, we call it the Iowa test. And I think I might be dating myself there a little bit, but we teach the children everything that we know, which isn't a lot. I mean, we're moosh after all. We know how to live in the forest, or the plains, or the geysers, or behind a waterfall portal, and we know how to turn children into moosh, and we know, well, I mean, they're not really children anymore after we turn them into moosh, because then they're moosh. But just to put it simply, I'm getting old, and it takes a little bit of my how do you say, energy, a soul, your chutzpah that I put into each child as I transform them. And
Yeah, I took a few pictures of Arnold. And when I was younger, before I chose park ranger on the test. I would have thought that those would be the most amazing pictures mankind has ever taken. Magical moose, but I came to realize that that's kind of just how we do all of our megafauna nowadays. You wouldn't believe what they do to make panda bears.
Back in London, I never really thought I had a future. It was just brooms and songs. But it doesn't, I don't like my future here either, I think. I just really don't vibe with any of these options that the Guardians have put before me. I mean, there was, oh my God, back in London there was this thing called the West End, where these women would dress up in these fabulous gowns and just dance. I could do something like that.
yes, we always have that one troublemaker that's always bucking the system, wants a fourth option. Sometimes we call them West End girls. But I'm getting exhausted. I can't do this for much longer. I've got to just kick all the children out, and so I did that one day. I brought them to the portal, and I took a shiny rock and I threw it through.
Unfortunately, throwing shiny rocks into the portal always results in invasive hippopotamuses.
It's never been easy to keep the patrons of the park safe from themselves. Oh, a lot of buffalo gore a lot of people every year, and it just makes more orphans and cycle just... It's a circle of life, really. But the day the hippos showed up...
I thought it was a rumor. I had never seen, I've lived nigh on 150 years as a moosh caretaker of the orphans, and I've never once seen the invasive hippopotami, and I didn't know what to do. They were stampeding, and
Arnold was supposed to keep us safe. The moosh are supposed to keep us safe. As long as we live by their rules, we get to be safe in this beautiful grove. That is the deal. And that deal is broken. My classmates trampled. That park ranger I thought was kind of impressive trampled.
Arnold was supposed to keep us safe. That's what he always told us, Pick and choose one of the 3 boxes and everything will work out. You'll get your dreams.
The trampled children are a tragedy, but really, there are worse calamities than being transformed into a mallard duck due to a trampling accident.
And the worst part is, it ruined my third to last photo. I had it so lined up, I thought, what could be more iconic than Old Faithful going off? Nobody wants to see a bunch of tourists being trampled by hippopotami in front of a poorly timed photo of Old Faithful.
It wasn't a finger in the photo, it was a hippo tooth. I felt like a complete failure, like all my charges were no longer safe in my care, and my whole purpose of existence, it didn't matter anymore, and I didn't know what to do. I was having an existential crisis, and war moosh. Yeah, I went into my grandfather's shed and opened up that special sea trunk that, yes, once moosh traveled the sea. And I opened it up and donned his bronze armor, pulled out his spatha, it's a Roman sword for those that don't know. And I held the children, well, the ones that were still living and the ones that were no longer, the ones that were not mallard ducks. And I held them behind me, and I stood the line, and I took on all of the hippopotami by myself.
Well, of course I went to see him. I knew what had happened. Everybody knows what happens when you throw a shiny pebble through a portal. Hippopotami. I thought maybe he was just having a bad day. It's been a while since I had visited Arnold behind the waterfall. It wasn't hard to find. It was still there. But I didn't expect, I didn't expect to see a moose head to toe in Roman armor fighting hippopotami. I should have helped.
Yes, I know I'm kind of history bending here, but do you remember Thermopylae? There's like a wall of hippopotami were piling up in front of me as I stabbed and slashed and used my shield and then had a nice graphic jump as I screamed out loud, blood splattered. It was glorious, and
alas, as Arnold would know if his moose education system hadn't failed him, this only leads to more orphans.
Things were looking bad in this battle, so I did what every London orphan is trained to do. Scale a wall, scale a brick wall. So I found the rocks that were in the back of the grove, and I scaled that wall, and I perched myself on top of it. And I said, "Hey, mister, leave him alone!" And I threw the biggest rock I could carry in my 14-year-old hands. And it distracted the hippopotami. Enough, not totally, but enough to give Arnold an opening.
And that kid said, "Hey, mister, leave us kids alone." And he just threw bricks straight from the wall. Wouldn't have thought such a thing could stop an army of hippopotami. But the conviction of that kid standing there in defiance of a herd.
it brought a tear to my eye. I was able to put down the sword, and I offered it to the orphan and told him, or her, or whomever, to turn it into a plowshare. And I decided that if I wanted to be free of these orphans, maybe it was I that needed to step through the portal behind the waterfall. So I did. I took out my Swiss Army knife and popped each of the leather straps as I walked, dropping greave and other armor piece. As I walked through that portal, and it is said that once a moose walks through a portal, the moose may never return. And for a moment it made me sad. I was setting out as an exhausted older moose, and I didn't know what life was going to bring me, and I thought maybe that's what an orphan feels like. And
I scaled back down from the wall, and Arnold handed me his sword and his armor, but the armor was much too big, so I tossed that aside. The sword, it felt really good in my hands. And throwing that rock felt really good too. To be able to protect all of these ducks and children, it felt really, really good. Then I watched him walk through that portal, never to be seen again, and thought maybe...
I watched him walk through that portal. Probably never to be seen again, and I looked. Well, most of the orphans just looked like they wanted to be moose. It happens. I grew up with people just like that, but there was that one, that biscuit. Had a bad Cockney accent for like all of 5 minutes. I dropped it like a bad habit, and I said, that is someone adaptable. I watched this biscuit shed a tear, watching our moose protector.
Epilogue.
I'm an FBI agent now. Turns out that was my gig this whole time. I like protecting people, I like protecting the park. I miss Arnold, I really do. I miss having a big moose protector to ride upon, but now I have like a Chevy, and that's also really good.
Well, I had rid myself of the orphans. When I walked through the portal, something changed in me, and I was no longer walking on 4 legs, and my beautiful rack had retreated into my head, and patches of my fur fell out. And is this what it is to be a man? Oh.
Thank you. We have been the Reservoir Frogs, Andy, Adam, and Krista, and I'm McKaylee.
Diana Christian, up in the booth. All right, that concludes our show this evening. Let's give one more round of applause to our storyteller, Valerie Blomberg. Eaten by locusts. Soap Improv. Reservoir Frog. I also want to give a thanks to Aurora for doing the tech for Soap Improv. Tech is such an important part of these improv shows, so let's get that up to Aurora and to Diane. We also, at this point in time, do ask if the groups have anything else that they would like to plug, any other shows that they're in. Or for that matter, it doesn't have to be that specific group. If you just have another show you want to plug, go for it. Okay, well, Reservoir Frogs, along with
two other groups will be continuing to put on Improvocation once a month. The date and time is up in the air. We pretty much get whatever we get in a prime time slot that's available with, I don't know, somewhere between 3 and 4 weeks notice from Phoenix Theater. We really appreciate that everybody here was able to come out and see us, not knowing when our regular show is going to be until just a few weeks out. So give yourselves a round of applause for coming out and seeing us. With that, thank you very much for coming out on a Sunday evening. We really appreciate it. Hope you had a fun show. Have a good evening.